interest to every single student, and that might be a good time. If you're not interested in pre-health, we can start answering some of the questions on the chat. So let's try to hold to that as much as we can, but we promise we'll get your questions answered. If not tonight, we definitely encourage you to put them in chatter, and we'll continue to answer questions, especially over the next couple days. Also, as I mentioned, I think we are recording. It looks like Aubrey is probably getting it covered, so yay, Aubrey, good job. And we will post this in the chatter as well. Okay, so just a couple more high-level tips we want to cover for you is to really make sure you're checking all your email correspondence from Cornell. It's really important that you're using your Cornell email. Definitely everything for Cornell. You may find that that becomes your primary email system, and it really should be, because we don't want you to miss something really important. And I promise you, pretty much everything we will cover tonight, you probably received something in an email from us already. So if you haven't reviewed those before tomorrow's enrollment, we definitely would encourage you to do that. Also, we can't stress enough how important chatter is for getting information, but also posting your questions, because it helps if you're asking the question, most likely somebody else is as well, and that allows us to give answers that a lot of students can also see along with you. And so we would also encourage you to download the Chatter app to your phone. It's available for iPhone or Android. So we definitely encourage you to do that if you haven't already. It makes it so much easier to just jump on and ask some questions. The other thing I want to point out that you would have received this in an email if you haven't visited yet, the CAL's new student blog that Tori really, it's kind of her creation, but she really focused on getting some of the vital information, especially about your major, the courses that you should think about enrolling by your major is in the CAL's blog that Tori has created. And so that's typically some of the most questions we get is around, what courses for my major. Some of you may have already heard from folks in your major, which is fantastic. We hope you have. If you haven't, this resource will help guide you as you're thinking about what courses you might need depending on your major. And so definitely it gets a little confusing when CALS has over 20 majors. It's a great resource. So check out the blog for CAL's new students. Okay, so I think with that, we're going to move forward. Whoops, I'm going to actually switch to something that Shauna put together. Oh, where's my share? Here we go. And I might have to back it up just a little bit, Shauna. I was checking earlier. So Shauna, if you're ready, we can make this work.
Yep. Hey everybody. So this is just
hold on. I'm trying to make it work.
This is just a quick video run through of what it will look like when you log into your student center. This is one of our current students, Dana. So we'll just go right up to the first step of the shopping cart. So if you go to your main page and click enroll, or click the enrollment shopping cart, and you can see there where your appointment will be. So if you log into your student center, you can see it there. And then if you add classes to your shopping cart, you can also click that. And then you'll see the page that has information for you to enter the class numbers that we talked about from the class roster. So you can just enter the class number right there. And the class will show up. You can choose the grading option. And right above that is a permission number if you have a permission number. And then you can see that it has been added to your shopping cart. So this is step number one. We can't go any further because the enrollment period is not open yet. but once the enrollment period opens, you'll be able to follow the next 2 steps. So there's 3 total steps in order to enroll in a class. So this just kind of shows you the different options for adding, dropping, if you want to swap, what your class schedule would look like. So there's different views of it. And this is Dana's schedule. Dana already posted a blog as well, and she runs through the pages step by step. So if you want to hop on there and see what hers looks like. You can also click on the details of your enrollment appointment and see that your appointment runs from July 8th to July 16th. So you can hop in there tonight if you haven't already and put classes right into your shopping cart so that you're all set for tomorrow morning. And I would say one of the best things to do is have some backup classes along with some alternative sections. So in case a section or just like a discussion or lab fills up, you have an alternative to put in case your first choice is already full.
Great. Anything else, Shauna, around, or Aubrey, around that process?
Did you have anything, Aubrey, that you wanted to share?
Nope, I think you covered all the basics.
Great. Okay. So we're going to move on. There's nothing else with that. Hi, everyone. Just a reminder, your audio and your video, if you haven't already. We're getting some feedback. Okay, is everybody muted? We just need to do that so we don't get that feedback. Probably everybody can hear that. So we're going to move on. Steve probably is ready to talk a little bit about some of the pre-health, the courses that might be most important if you're thinking about pre-med or pre-vet. Steve is part of a team of folks that support all kinds of career and plans, working with students on their plans, whatever they might be, whether it's moving to jobs after Cornell or whether it's grad school or even looking at pre-health opportunities. They're your folks to go to. And it's never too early to start with that, right, Steve? So we'll move ahead on your slides. Go ahead. It's all yours.
All right. Great. So my name is Steve Schaum, and we're not going to be talking too much about career, but mostly about pre-health information this evening. So one of the main things you've heard us talking a lot about chatter. One of the key things for those who are interested in pre-health, which includes pre-med, pre-vet, if you're interested in dentistry, if you're interested in any career field that's related to health industry, you definitely want to join our pre-med or our pre-vet chatter group. There you can ask questions specifically to those areas. We'll be posting a lot of different information about events and workshops and things that lead up to your junior and senior years to help you prepare for the MCAT exam and actually applying to medical school and vet school and so forth. So definitely join those chatter groups. There's also a pre-health and pre-vet guides. These are guidebooks that help you plan through your 4 years at Cornell to help structure your class schedules. And we're actually going to be touching a little bit on that this evening. But those pre-health guides really step you through the entire process of preparing for either veterinary school or any kind of pre-health or human medicine industries as well. So yeah, I'll be posting the links to those pre-health guides in Chatter. Okay, next slide. Great. So one of the biggest questions is what courses should I take when? If you can just go to the next slide, Anne, we'll go ahead and continue that. So this is kind of, just keep this as a general guide. It's not anything that's set in stone, and every student's schedule may be slightly different from each other, especially depending on the type of classes that you might be transferring in through AP credits or classes that you might take during the summer and things like that. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. But generally, and it also greatly depends on what major that you're in as well. Some majors will get you started off right away into some classes that you need for that major. And some typically want you to start with some general requirements in other areas before you jump into your major. And so therefore you might be able to take some more of these classes in general. But typically a student may start with mathematics, which would be a calculus or a statistics class, written expression, which would be your first year writing seminar course, and then chemistry or biology, and then a social science, which would be like a sociology, psychology, human behavior, those kind of classes. And one of the notes that just popped up at the bottom of the screen, did you know fewer than half of applicants apply to medical school at the end of their junior year, which means most of our students do take a gap year. The rest apply right after or during their junior year and go on to medical school right after they graduate from Cornell. So gap year is very popular. It allows you to do a lot of different things in the gap year, like gain more experience in the medical fields, maybe take some additional classes, or it just depends on your situation, and we can help you with that. But don't be afraid about thinking about a gap year. Medical schools tend to like the students that do take the gap year, but it's not necessary. So it all depends on your situation. Next slide. Okay, so this is a typical course sequence. And again, this is not solidified in stone. It really depends on everybody's situation. And it also depends on if you're going to be taking a gap year, because some of these courses that are listed for your junior year, some of them could be stretched into your senior year if you end up taking a gap year. Much of it depends on when you might take the MCAT exam. But you can see a lot of the courses at the top of the list are geared for freshmen and sophomores, during your freshman and sophomore year. So think about those courses and trying to fit into your curriculum. And if you're in a biology-related major, like biological sciences or bio and society, many of these courses may cross over with your major requirements. If you're not in one of those majors, then you're going to have to think about how these classes can fit in along with the courses that you take during your major. But don't let this be alarming to you. There's plenty of time to fit these courses in. And if you have specific questions, look at the guidebook. And also, when you get to campus, please feel free to come to our office and talk to either myself, Lori, or Jen, who all do pre-health advising, and we can help you with those courses. Next slide. Okay, so for the human health side, this is a general idea of what kind of courses you need to take through the 4 years that you're at Cornell. And so there's the biology, the chemistry, the organic chemistry, and so forth. There is actually another page to this that is in the guidebook that also explains English requirements, your math requirements, physics, and social sciences. So this is a page that's copied out of the guidebook, But please look at the second page as well, because there's some additional requirements. So just take a look at this, and on the next slide here, you can go to the next slide, that's fine. So this is the pre-vet suggested requirements. And again, there's the biology and chemistry and so forth, but there is an additional page to this that has Englishes and maths and things like that. So just take a close look at the guidebook, and it'll answer a lot of your questions, when you should take what, and so forth. So yeah, just take a look at the guidebooks. Next slide. So these are some frequently asked questions. Can I use AP credits for required courses? That's kind of a yes or no answer. There's no true answer to this, because there's some medical schools that will accept AP credits. There's some that will take them, but they don't prefer them. And then there's some medical schools that don't care if you have AP credits. They'll accept those. For example, there's not any California medical schools that I'm aware of that takes AP credits. So the key thing is to look at some of the medical schools that you might be interested in and seeing what their requirements are for accepting AP credits. If they accept them, then then you can transfer them into Cornell for that purpose. However, most medical schools, if not all, do not like AP credits in the core science courses, such as biology, chemistry, those kind of courses. If you have AP credit in history or possibly an English class, those could be accepted, but not in your core science courses, okay? Can I take required courses SU? Now, SU is basically a pass-fail or satisfactory or unsatisfactory grade. And the answer to that is no. The only time that you can take it SU is if the course only has that grade option and not a grade, a typical grade option. So, and most of our core science courses or requirements for medical school and vet school are not SU. So the answer to that is you should not be taking courses in the SU grade option. And the last one, who can I meet with to get advice? And I've already answered that. There's 3 in our office, Lori Gillespie, Jen DeRosa, and myself, Steve Schaum. And we talk to all students about medical, pre-vet, dentistry, optometry, anything medical related, we can help you with those. So please come to our office once you get to campus, and we can help you. Next slide. Okay. You're up, Ann.
Hey, so this is Shauna and Aubrey. We're gonna just round out the presentation with some just some quick tips for pre-enrollment. If you have any last-minute questions, feel free to ask, whether it's chatter or if you want to open up your mic and interrupt us. But just wanted to share some of our best practices for students. So a typical schedule will look like 2 or 3 major courses that you'll enroll in, and then 1 or 2 distribution credits or course requirements, and then maybe an elective. And if you're a first-year student, you'll take a PE class. Don't panic if you don't pre-enroll in a full schedule. By the time pre-enrollment is over, you have time during the add drop period to pick up the rest of your courses. There'll be a lot of shuffling around when add drop begins. Pre-enrollment is limited to 18 credits, so just make sure you factor that in if you are planning to ballot for a first-year writing seminar. because that will not be added to your schedule until around July 24th. Let's see what else. You should have received an email from our office a couple weeks ago. There was a link to an enrollment guide, and there was a PDF in it, which I will put on Chatter again, called What to Do If a Course is Full. There's a lot of good information in there, especially on the big chemistry, biology, and math. Lots of good advice in there. So if you haven't had a chance to read through it, try to take a few minutes tonight or tomorrow morning to check it out, because it will help answer a lot of the questions you might have. Let's see. Anything else that you can think of, Aubrey?
Sorry, there was a question about what is a distribution requirement. So I didn't know if you wanted to go into that a little bit.
So a distribution requirement basically makes up most of what are the college requirements. So in order to graduate, a student needs to meet the college requirements, the major requirements, and the university requirements. So the college requirements are made up of distribution, which is humanities and social sciences, which is 4 courses in 3 different categories. And one of the categories is required to be human diversity. And we'll post a link for you to look for a search of all of the distribution courses. But there's other places you can search to find approved courses, because CALS will accept distribution from other colleges. For example, human ecology codes their courses in distribution. So foreign language or social behavior analysis, which is SBA, is probably the most common distribution, which is economics. If you have any questions about those, we'll be happy to answer them. And then there's physical and life sciences. So students need 18 credits. And of the 18 credits, 6 credits must be in introductory biology and 3 credits in chemistry or physics. And then the remainder of the 18 credits are just physical and life sciences. And then finally, there's written oral expression. So Cal students are required 6 credits of written expression, and the final 3 credits are written or oral. There are some majors that require oral expression, so we just ask that you check with the major to see if they require you to take oral expression. And some of the distribution requirements can overlap with major requirements. So for example, calculus or statistics are required for, I would say, almost all of the majors. And math requirement is part of the college requirement, which counts under physical and life sciences as well. And then students will meet their major requirements, and the university requirements are the swim test and 2 PE courses. And like I said, those are exempt for our external transfer students.
So we did get a couple of questions. Somebody asked about Course Grab and some other scheduling tools, and we just want to clarify that anything that like Course Grab is not related to Cornell, so we don't really have any control over, when that's available and the information there. There is a scheduling link through the class roster that many of you may have found, and it can be very handy when you're trying to pick times for your classes, but just be aware that that does not enroll you in those classes. So just because they're listed on your scheduler tool does not mean that you are actually enrolled in them. You will have to go through Student Center, as Shauna showed you earlier.
Great. Thanks, Aubrey and Shauna. That was a good overview. And thanks, Steve, for covering some of the highlights to think about if you're at all on that pre-med or pre-vet type track. So I think we've covered, I'm kind of checking in with my team here, but I think we got some of the highlights covered that we wanted to make sure we mention, but definitely very, very open to taking questions that you guys might have, anything we didn't cover.
Hello.
Hi, go ahead.
Hi. So, I am a sophomore transfer communication student or a communication major, and I was wondering if I have to take an FWS class.
Sure. So I can take this one. So that will depend on what your classes that you transferred in, what we were able to code those as for your distribution or your graduation requirements. So you should have received a transfer.
Yeah. I know I got written expression and oral expression, but for like a I guess I don't know.
Sure. So you should definitely check with your faculty advisor if the college, if we were able to grant you the written expression for some of the classes that you have already taken. You should check in with your advisor on if they would ask you to take any additional beyond that.
Okay, because I know I got a written expression, I guess, accepted from the classes that I took. But there's a first year writing seminar, and then there's also, it says it can also be accepted through AP. And I didn't take AP, but I'm wondering if it's just a requirement anyway.
Sure. So 2 written expression classes are required. So if one is fulfilled through your transfer credits, then you would need to take an additional written expression, but that doesn't mean it has to be a freshman writing seminar. We are able to accept other classes that fulfill a written expression.
Okay. Awesome.
That was a great question. And transfer students, some of you probably on tonight are coming in as transfers, and definitely what you're seeing set up for freshmen doesn't exactly align with your needs, so it gets a little trickier. So that was a great question, and you will probably need to work very closely with your major, your department folks, if you're a transfer, and just figuring out for sure what you need to keep working towards to complete the degree. So yeah, great question though. Gets a little tricky, but it's very possible. We'll help you through it. Any other questions? Lots going on in the chat, so that's good, but we can certainly answer more verbally as well.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
I took sociology at another school, at Seton Hall, because I'm a transfer. And I also noticed that it's introduction to sociology is a diversity course. So I was wondering if there's a possibility that I could get those accept that class accepted as a diversity class, or do I have to take another diversity class in order to satisfy the requirement at
Sure. So you can have that course that you took reviewed to see if it will meet any of those types of requirements. So you will be able to submit courses like that through a link through Dust when that is up and running. And I see somebody else asked about Dust, so I'll go into that in a minute. But basically, you can send in the information for the course to us if you see that it's not meeting any of the requirements that you think it should, and we'll have it reviewed and let you know.
Okay, is it go through should I email the student center, or just will something come up in Dust at some point?
Sure. So you can email it to us, and we can send you that there's a specific link for the diversity requirement that's pretty specific, that doesn't get used, that isn't as common. So you can email us and ask.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to add on to Aubrey's comment on diversity. I'm sure many of you who transferred in sociology will be confused about why your course wasn't moved under the diversity requirement. And diversity is the one requirement that CALS prefers you take at Cornell. And CALS has a separate subcommittee for diversity. So any external transfer course that a student wants to have reviewed for diversity has to go through this separate process. And as Aubrey mentioned, we do have a link for students to submit their course if you would like to have it reviewed. A couple of things to caution you on. It's a very lengthy process. It can take, I've seen anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months for review. And that's because the committee contacts the instructor who taught the course. So that's just a heads up for any of you who are considering that. Make sure to keep the syllabus and course description of where you took the class. And there's a definition of diversity on our website. And you'll want to just take a look at that ahead of time and just see if the course you took looks similar to the course at Cornell.
Hello, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I noticed on some of the classes on in the I needed instructor's permission to actually take the class. I was unsure about how you would get that consent or what the process was, and if you could still pre-enroll in the class without that consent.
So I'll take that one. So you would need an instructor permission code, even for pre-enroll, to be able to enroll in the class if there is instructor or department consent. So you can contact the department or the instructor if that is listed or indicated on the class, but you would not be able to pre-enroll without that permission code.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, great. Okay, so in some courses, it looks like when you open it up, there's like two or three professors listed. What does that mean? Is that like more than one person teaching the class, or does that mean you're not sure who's teaching it yet? That's a little confusing.
So it could be that there are multiple instructors, professors teaching the course. It depends on the course. Sometimes they may sort of chunk up the course, and each might teach a particular topic that's part of the course. They might be the experts in that particular area of teaching and learning. So that would be the main reason you would see more than one instructor listed for a particular course. I don't know if Shauna and Aubrey have a more official registrar answer, but that's typically what I'm aware of.
Yeah, so Anne's right. There's not really an easy way to tell from the roster. Typically, when there's more than one instructor listed, there's either a co-taught course. Sometimes an instructor will teach the first half of the course, and then another will teach the second half. Sometimes they'll trade off and on. There's no really easy way to tell unless you were able to get a hold of the syllabus. And sometimes the syllabus is linked to the class within the class roster. If it's there, then that hopefully is an easy way to tell. Otherwise, if you hover over the instructor's name, it will bring up their net ID, and you could email them and ask them about the format for the way that the course is taught.
Okay, thanks. Can I ask one other question that I think will be quick?
Sure. Yes, go ahead.
So if you want to, I know you don't have to take a foreign language necessarily, but if you're planning on taking a foreign language to meet one of your distribution, how do you know what to sign up for? because you don't get your placement test results, as I understand it, till August. So are you just kind of guessing at this point?
Yep. So you'll just want to pre-enroll in what you think your level is, and then once you take your placement exam, that will give you a better idea of where you would land as far as enrolling in the accurate language course.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Hello.
Hi, go ahead.
I have a few questions. So the first thing is, for each semester, are we limited to only one SRU course?
So as a first-year student, the limit is one SU course, and that excludes PE. That's because most of your major courses are required letter only.
Oh, because I'm a external transfer student, and one of my courses, which is required for the major, is a satisfactory or unsatisfactory graded policy. So I was just wondering if it's a possibility that I could probably take another SRU course besides the one that's required.
Yep, that's fine. If it's required for your major and it's SU only, there's not much you can do about it. Yep, that's fine.
Okay, I just have two more questions. I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
So like for certain courses like DSOC 1101, there's three different distribution requirements that can be satisfied for CALs, like diversity or KCM or SBA. Do we have the flexibility to kind of determine which distribution requirement the particular course can satisfy, or is there another kind of system?
Nope, you get to choose. So basically, we can code the course for you once it's completed and graded. So if it doesn't go under the category that you would like it to go under, you can either stop into our office or send us an email and we can move it for you.
Oh, okay. And one last one. This is kind of off topic, but how likely is it that one student can be granted a gap year after completing 1 year of study?
So are you talking about taking a voluntary leave of absence?
Yeah, just 1 year of leave of absence from the institution.
So voluntary leaves are almost always granted for up to 5 years, as long as the student is in good academic standing.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is probably a stupid question, but how do you actually send AP scores into Cornell?
No questions are stupid. And it depends on if you're a first-year student or if you are an external transfer student. I believe, and Tori can probably correct me if I'm wrong, that first-year students have the ability to send scores to Cornell directly from the College Board. And if you're an external transfer, there's a couple of options. If you have a copy of your original scores from the College Board in a paper form, maybe they're at home with your parents, you can take a picture or a scan of them and send them via email to us. You can fax them to us, or you can bring them to campus with you when you get here in August. The other option is you could order them again from the College Board and have them sent. If you do that, I believe you have to pay a fee. So that's probably the last choice. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Just one more question. After I send them in, do I have to do anything myself, or will Cornell automatically take care of applying different credits to requirements and whatnot, particularly for written expression?
So as long as we know that we have the scores, depending on when they're sent in and which way they're sent in, we will automatically apply them to your record and then let you know so that you can take a look and check them out.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question about AP credits. So I'll give an example. If you have AP credit for bio, but you have to, I guess, give it up because you're in a bio major and you have to take bio anyway, do you actually give up the 4 or 8, whatever it is, 4 credits, or do you just not get the credits applied toward bio? Do you know what I mean? Do you still get the credits toward general graduation requirements?
Right. So if you're a bio major, biology does not accept biology AP toward the major. However, the college will still apply the AP credit toward your college distribution because biology AP is not a forbidden overlap with any of the current classes taught at Cornell. So you will still get the credit for biology AP. They just won't count toward the major, but they will count toward the college credit, and they'll count as Cal's credit.
Is that the same answer for like statistics, or is that like specific to bio, what you just said?
It depends on the major. So it could be different depending on which major a student is in. There are some majors that will require the student to take statistics at Cornell. So for example, biometry and statistics majors typically will have to take statistics at Cornell. They offer their own statistics. And in that case, the student would forfeit their AP statistics.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I have a quick question. So I sent in my AP scores, I think a week and a half ago for my econ credits. I'm an incoming transfer, and I'd like to register for the intermediate econ classes. Can I do that later because my econ credits haven't shown up yet in DUST, or what should I do about that?
Can you send me an email so I can double check them for you, and I'll try to get back to you tomorrow? You can send it to my net ID, SLL33.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. When do we have our the placement tests?
What do you mean placement tests? Are you looking to take a placement test?
Are there I just know a lot of people that have taken placement tests that are either in the arts and sciences or stuff like that. Is there a way, do we all just get in the same courses, or is there placement tests that we have to take once we get to the college, or?
Okay, so there are placement tests offered. The credit works similar to how an AP credit would work. So, for example, there's foreign language placement tests. There's placement tests in math, and I can put the link up for placement tests so that you can take a look at them and see which ones you'd like to sign up for. And those are all typically offered during orientation or right before classes start.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? We have a few more minutes. If anyone has, so I think.
Yes, are you able to put up a link into the shopping cart so you to copy from the scheduler into the cart?
No, so you will have to, from the scheduler on the class roster, you mean?
Yeah, how do you get from one to the other?
Sure, so you have to, they're completely separate, so they don't talk to each other. So you will have to use on the class roster, your scheduler, there's an option to view details of the classes, and they'll have a class number. And that class number is what Shauna, in that demo, you use to search each individual classes. So you'll have to go into Student Center and put in each individual class in by itself from the class roster.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Questions?
I did see a quick question about advisors being assigned. So it depends on the major. So most majors have sent some type of communication either from a main contact in the office, or some individual advisors are still working on outreach. So it depends on your major. Some have assigned individual faculty advisors and some won't until later on. So you can contact your department directly if you have questions about that.
Anything else, guys? We got a few more minutes.
I think I just want some clarification. I asked a question earlier about FWS and written expression. If I don't take an FWS class this semester, is it not possible for me to satisfy, and it's not, maybe this sounds specific, but does a student need to take an FWS class to satisfy a written and oral communication requirement?
Sure, I understand what you're asking, I think. And the answer is no. So you're an incoming sophomore transfer, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So technically you do have your first 2 semesters to enroll in an FWS if you want to. But you can also take a different writing course that fulfills that written expression. So we do have a list available that will be linked through Chatter, where you can look those classes up if you choose not to take an FWS for transfer students. Freshmen, we encourage you to take the freshman writing seminars, but transfers, since you're bringing in other credits, there's other options for you.
Because I know I have 6 credits worth of written expression, so I'm just making sure that I don't have to, because I know it says like there's 2 classes are listed in the CALS distribution requirements.
Sure. Yeah, and if you want, you can go ahead and send me or send the general email an email, and we'll get back to you tomorrow and talk about it more if you'd like. But it sounds like your written expression is set, and then maybe just that additional credit. And you can check in with your advisor on what they would suggest for you to take as well.
Okay, thank you.
The additional 3 credits could be in our speech course, oral communication as well. So you could diversify and, not have to have a third writing either. So, and your major.
That's what I have is
okay.
written. I have I took an English 2 class and an oral comm class.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
So
there's a lot of options that can satisfy the writing that you have additionally to do. So it should be easy.
Okay.
Great.
I think someone's chatting about this, but this was a little bit confusing that you need 55 credits in CALS, but for example, like the distribution requirements, let's say you take a foreign language, that does not count toward the 55, or it would?
So I can help answer this. It is a little bit confusing without being able to take a look at the actual degree progress. We weren't going to go into that specifically tonight because we wanted to focus more on pre-enrollment, but we will hold another Zoom meeting after pre-enroll to dive deeper into your degree progress. But just to briefly explain it, students need 120 credits to graduate. Of the 120, 55 of those credits need to be CALS credits, which means they need to be subject codes taught through CALS. Transfer students can transfer in courses that may be similar to a course taught in CALS. So for example, biology. Biology is a subject code that's taught in CALS, so if a transfer student transferred in biology, we would count that as CALS credit. So there are transfer students who are starting out with CALS credits already as part of their record. If a course is taught through like physics or chemistry, those courses are through the Arts and Sciences School at Cornell, so those would not be considered CALS credits. So CALS is pretty generous because we allow students to take, you know, quite a few credits outside of CALS. But we're happy to sit down and explain it a little better if it does seem confusing. I know it's a lot of information to take in.
Okay, thanks. So, and just then, so it sounds like the distribution requirements might not be CALS. Like, for example, my foreign language question, that's not a CALS credit.
Correct. So not necessarily. The distribution was designed so that students could take courses that they're interested in as well. So humanities can be foreign language if you want it to be. There's many courses taught through other colleges that can fulfill our distribution requirements. There's lots of history courses, anthropology. So there's lots of examples that students might be interested that are not taught in CALS.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have time for maybe one more question. I'm not hearing anything, so maybe we've run out of the questions. It looks like there's still some things happening in the chat. So, so I want to thank the team, Shauna and Aubrey, Steve, Tori. You guys were full of great information. I think our advice is to, you know, try not to panic tomorrow. We hope that you can calmly approach the enrollment. There's a lot of us here to help. There'll be the ability to certainly continue to ask questions and chatter. Review those emails you may have been sent, because a lot of the information is in there if you haven't done that already. Definitely know that a lot of your answers are going to come from your major and your department.
Yeah.
And that is where you're going to want to
Okay.
dig into. Get a lot of your answers is right in that information that Tori set up on the blog. So good luck to everybody tomorrow. We know you'll do fine, and we're around to help. Again, there's multiple days to make this work, but you'll also come to campus in August, and you'll have some designated time with your advisor, with your major, where we have the add drop period, where you can continue to tweak your schedule. You may have some AP scores available at that point in time to make some adjustments. There'll be more information that will occur between now and then, and you'll be able to make those adjustments. So we promise your schedule will be set and ready to roll when classes begin here at the end of August. So anyways, good luck to everybody. We're so glad you joined us. We can't wait to see you at the end of August when you get to campus, but we're around to help all summer. So good luck and have a good night, everybody. Thanks for jumping on.